All right, hello everyone. My name is Lauren Vichik. I am one of the physical therapists here at the Community Hospital in Monterey.
And I am Sasha Geisler. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so let's get started into the exercise portion of our video. So we are going to start with that aerobic warm-up for about 5 to 10 minutes. I will be demonstrating the moves in standing, and Sasha will be demonstrating them in sitting. So, shall we get started?
Let's get started.
All right, so we're first going to start with some marching. So for my standing folks, go ahead and just raise those knees up nice and high, moving those arms back and forth. We're going to go for about 60 seconds of this.
For those of you who are sitting, make sure to keep a nice tall posture. Sitting on the edge of the chair is going to allow you to keep your back straight. Now, if you'd like, you can incorporate the arms.
Beautiful. And for those of you in standing, if you have any balance concerns, feel free to grab on to a sturdy piece of furniture like a chair nearby just to assist you. We're going to go for 20 more seconds. You're doing great. All right, shall we add some arms in here?
Do it.
All right, so let's get our heart rate up a little bit more. Let's reach with those arms as you march. Beautiful. Nice job.
Go at whatever pace is comfortable.
Stretch those fingers nice and high.
Now, if you have any shoulder issues and this is causing you any discomfort, please go ahead and eliminate the arms. It's not necessary. Or keep your arms low.
Exactly. You can always bring them towards the side of your body, or again, just stretch one arm if you like that chair to hold on to.
My arms are getting tired.
Me too. All right, let's cross them a little bit. So now, as we march, our arms are going to come across your body. Get a good crunch at your abdominal muscles here.
Now, when you come back to neutral, make sure you're up nice and tall, especially for those of you who are sitting, as it is a little bit easy to start slouching for this one. We don't want anyone to end up with a back injury.
And again, there's always that alternative of grabbing onto your chair as you go as well.
I'm definitely getting my heart.
Me too. I feel warmer already. Excellent job. All right, should we do some lunging?
Let's do it.
All right, so for our next one, you're gonna step forward, reaching through that arm, and then coming back, and then alternate to the other side. Step forward, come back. Nice job. Again, stretch through those fingers as far as you can.
For those of you in sitting, try to keep nice tall posture as you do this. And again, sitting at the edge of the chair is going to help you keep the best mechanics and keep your spine in a nice straight position.
Beautiful. Shift that weight onto that foot you're stepping to, keeping your back up tall. We'll do a few more. You're doing great.
And again, one thing to mention, if any of these are causing pain or discomfort, go back to one of the easier versions of this exercise. Now, if you'd like to keep working on your cardio, but this is just causing you discomfort or is making you feel unsteady or anything like that, you can go ahead back to the neutral position and just work on your marching.
And in an alternative, if you feel like you need a little bit more than what we do here, feel free to revisit the whole program again and cycle through it a couple of times to get a good warm-up in. For our final portion of our aerobic warm-up, we're gonna start sitting in a chair. Scoot towards the edge of the chair, stand up, stretch your arms around, stretching all the way through those fingers. Standing up nice and tall again. Beautiful. Now, if you want a little more added challenge, don't sit back down all the way on your chair. Keep popping up right from that seat to get a little more work in through those leg muscles. Nice job.
Now, as an alternative for those folks who maybe don't have the strength or balance confidence to stand up without their hands, feel free to use a chair in front of you or an assistive device such as a walker to support you. And stand and slowly sit down. Stand up, slowly sit down. Now, as you're doing this, if you feel comfortable and confident, feel free to let go. And reach your arms back. So that can be modified to give you a little bit more confidence as you're working through these squats and sit to stands. Now, if you like an added challenge, you can always work on a little squat without sitting all the way down, using your hands for support. My legs are getting tired.
All right, so let's move on to the balance portion of our exercise. Now, for my people in standing, feel free to do these exercises in a corner or with your back to a sturdy piece of furniture like a couch or a bed. And you can always have that other piece of furniture nearby as well. Oftentimes I like to tell my patients to be in a corner with a chair in front. And that way if you feel unsteady at all, you can touch down and help support yourself. Now again, I'm going to demonstrate some balance exercises in standing, and Sasha will take them away in sitting. So we have a few modifications for that. So let's first start with arms across your chest, slowly marching. So slowly lift that leg up, hold for a second, and then lower back down. Shift your weight, slow march up on the other side, lower back down. Now for those of you that feel really confident with this exercise, feel free to keep that leg up for a little bit longer. Do a single leg stance and practice that balance. For those of you that might need a little bit more support for this, always feel free to grab down on your chair while doing so.
For those of you in sitting, make sure you're sitting at the edge of your chair so that you get the greatest balance challenge. That's going to allow you to use your core a little bit more and make it a little bit more difficult than if you're sitting all the way back.
Great. All right, now let's practice your balance with your eyes closed. Again, very important for this one to be in a corner or be near that sturdy piece of furniture, and you can always have a family member stand by as well if you want someone to help support you as needed. So from here, again, arms can go across your chest, and you're just gonna close your eyes and maintain your balance from here. There's always that option to touch down on your piece of furniture, or even just touch down with your fingertips if you want just a little bit of a challenge or a little bit of support here. And we'll aim to hold that position for 30 seconds with your eyes closed.
For those of you in sitting who feel this is maybe a little too easy and you'd like a little more of a challenge, keep your eyes closed and start slowly marching in place.
Nice job. All right, go ahead and open your eyes up. Now, let's work your balance a bit further by narrowing your base of support. So for some of you, it might be challenging just standing here and maintaining your balance. To make it a bit more challenging, if that feels not so challenging for you, feel free to step your feet even closer together, bringing them so that your toes or your feet are touching. And from here, again, you can cross your arms across your chest and balance.
For those of you sitting who would like a greater challenge, go ahead and slowly shift your body outside of your base of support. That's going to challenge your balance and help you engage your core.
Nice job. All right, and then the last component of balance that we can work, bring your feet back to a normal position. From here, we're gonna turn our head to shift ourselves a little bit outside of our base of support. So from here, you're gonna look all the way to your right-hand side, and then look all the way to your left-hand side. All the way to the right, all the way to the left. Nice job.
Now, similarly to the prior exercise, if you move your feet a little closer together, in standing or sitting, this will become a bit more challenging.
Excellent point. And then we can do the same exercise, but looking up and down. So same concept, standing here, looking all the way up towards the ceiling, and then looking down towards the floor. All the way up towards the ceiling, down towards the floor. If you have any dizziness with these exercises, feel free to make your movements a little bit smaller. Keep them comfortable but challenging for your balance. Nice job, we'll do a few more. Excellent.
Very nice. All right, thank you for our warm-up, Lauren. That was fantastic. Hopefully everybody is feeling nice and warmed up and ready to move on to our strengthening exercises. So we are also going to do a version in sitting and a version in standing. So depending on your ability level, please choose what is most appropriate. Now, Lauren and I both have weights. Lauren is going to be using a kettlebell. I have some free weights. No need to go out and buy any special equipment. Feel free to find things around the house if you have them that you can use. Water bottles, soup cans, anything of that nature works just fine for this exercise. So the first exercise we are going to start with is for our hip. So let's go ahead and start with some leg extensions. Now for those of you in standing, feel free to use support. For those of you in sitting, again, make sure you're at the edge of your chair. So we're going to go ahead and start with our kicks. For the strengthening exercises, again, these are done every other day or about 3 times a week. You'd like to do 10 to 20 repetitions of each exercise.
And usually that rule of thumb is as you're at the end of the last 2 or 3 repetitions, your muscles start to burn, and that's when you know you're in the right spot.
That's a great point. Good reminder. Do a couple more. Very nice. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our hip abduction, moving the leg to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and step to the side, back to the center, step to the side, back to the center, alternating legs. Now I have my weights in my way, but feel free to take a larger step if you like.
And I'm going to kick to the side. And again, you can always use that chair for a little bit of support if you need it, or you can just go hands on the hip, kicking that leg out to the side, feeling that muscle on the side of your hip really working.
It's a great balance challenge too. All right, so next we're going to work hip extension or kick backs. So for those standing, you're going to kick your leg back. For those of you in sitting, it's a little more challenging to kick your leg back. So what we are going to do as an alternative is do some glute squeezes. So as you're sitting, you're tightening your glutes, holding and then relaxing.
And you are working the same muscles whether you're sitting or standing, which is great.
You know, I like this one for long car rides, airplane rides. All of these exercises are appropriate for when we do get on airplanes again. Good. So again, 10 to 20 repetitions of each of these exercises. All right, very nice, good work. So next, we are going to work on our heel-toe raises. So again, for those of you in sitting, make sure you're at the edge of your chair. You can feel free to kick your legs out a little bit as the toe lifts are a little bit easier when your leg is out further.
And those of you in standing, again, hold on to that chair or don't, whatever is most appropriate for you, but raise up onto those heels and then up onto those toes.
Now, if you'd like a little bit of a balance challenge while you're doing this, feel free to cross your arms.
Great point.
Do a couple more repetitions of that.
I feel my legs starting to burn.
I feel mine as well. Again, one of my other favorite airplane exercises here.
So true.
All right, very good. So now is the time to grab your weights if you have one. Again, no need to use a weight, but if you have one and you would like to use it, now's the time to grab it. I'm going to use a 5-pound weight because it's what I have right here.
I have a 12-pound weight.
Ooh. Very nice. Again, no weight or even a soup can or water bottle is adequate for this one. So for this one, you're going to reach your hands or your weight down from one hip up over the other shoulder and bring it back and across. As you're pulling across, you're using those muscles of your abdominals and your core to really help protect your spine and pull that weight up and across. Now, for those who have shoulder issues or any shoulder pain, this is a good one to not use a weight on. And again, you can always use a smaller range, keeping the weight or your hands closer to your body.
Absolutely, and if you start to feel those muscles get tired, feel free to go weight-free as well.
I'm gonna go ahead and switch sides here.
Great.
Very nice. I definitely feel my core working.
Me too, getting a good twist into there.
And the nice thing is everybody thinks, you know, you've got to get on the ground and do sit-ups and crunches to get your core working. Well, that is not true.
And not always the best way.
That's very true. Good, one more. There we go, very nice. All right, very good. So the next one we're going to do is called the bent over fly. So we're gonna go ahead and hinge forward at the waist, and then with the bent elbows, bring your elbows back up towards the ceiling and back down in front of you. You can also feel free to rotate your hands up a little bit more if that's comfortable and doesn't cause you any shoulder pain.
Now, one key with this one, especially for those of you in standing, make sure you keep your back nice and straight. We tend to want to round our back, which can be poor for our posture and actually not achieve the exercise like we want to. So keep that back nice and straight as you row those arms back.
And another thing to keep in mind is try not to hike your shoulders up towards your ears. So no hiking the shoulders up. You want to keep your shoulders down away from your ears, squeezing those shoulder blades together in the back. Let's do one more. Good. All right, I feel those postural muscles really working. All right, so the next one we're going to do is another version of a scapular strengthening exercise, but a little bit more gentle. So I'm going to demonstrate in sitting, bringing my shoulder blades back together. Again, not elevating my shoulders, but keeping them nice and low, squeezing that bottom portion of my scapula together. Now, if you like, you can add weights for this to add a little bit more challenge, but I feel a really great strain on those muscles without a weight. So this is helping keep nice tall posture, helps with shoulder function, helps decrease pain if you do have shoulder pain. So this is a really nice one to do and generally pretty gentle.
Definitely. The other thing is if you have some of those exercise bands at home, those are a great one to add in as well. Just tying that band around the doorknob and pulling back from there, squeezing at those shoulder blades can add a little bit more resistance too.
Absolutely. And I also want to note how we're keeping our elbows fairly down low, close to our bodies, not hiking them up really high. That's going to help you keep good mechanics too. All right, so let's move on to our bicep curls. Again, weights are optimal for this one, but not necessary. Now, if you don't have a lot of strength and you want to just use a water bottle, that's fine. I'm going to use my 5-pound weights, sitting up nice and tall, starting with my hands down by my hips, pulling the weights up towards my shoulders and slowly lowering. Now, the slow lowering part is just as important as the elevation part, so don't rush through this one.
And if you just have access to a bit heavier weight, feel free to use it in both hands, doing the same movement, but curling both arms up at the same time with that one weight.
As an alternative, you can also do one arm at a time if you only have one weight, or one soup can, or one water bottle. 10 to 20 repetitions, and then you'll switch sides. Go ahead and switch. All right.
My arms are burning.
Mine are too. Okay, so our last strengthening exercise that we're going to do is a tricep chair dip. So for those of you in sitting, we're going to go ahead, place your hands on the arms of the chair, bend forward at the waist, and push up to lift your hips slightly off the chair. Now, if you don't have the strength to do that, just lean forward and put pressure through your hands, just enough to feel those muscles tense in your arms.
Now for my standing people, if you want a little bit more of a challenge, walk your hips off the edge of the chair and lower down from there. The further out you walk your feet while doing so, the more challenging you're going to find that dip becomes.
I'm feeling my arms working.
I'm shaking right now.
All right, very nice. Let's do 2 more repetitions. And that wraps up our strengthening component. So now on to our final component of our exercise program. We are going to work on some seated flexibility. So our first stretch is going to be for our hamstring. So for this stretch, place your leg out in front of you, flexing your foot up towards your nose and ensuring that your knee is straight. Now for those of you like myself who are tight in that muscle, you might already feel this.
For those of you that want a little bit more stretch, feel free to hinge forward at your hips just slightly, keeping your back straight while you do so.
Now the stretches can be done daily, and each stretch should be held for 30 to 60 seconds. So I surely feel that one after some of those hip exercises. So let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Now it's important again to make sure you're sitting at the edge of your seat while doing this so you can get the optimal stretch of that muscle.
And as you hold this stretch, if it starts to feel less challenging, just move a little bit more forward towards that leg to stretch that muscle a bit further.
All right, these stretches feel good after all those exercises. All right, so let's move on to our next stretch. Our next stretch is a hip stretch. And for those of you who maybe, again, are not quite as flexible, myself included, we will have a modification for this. So I'm gonna stretch one leg out and cross my ankle over the shin of that leg. Now, I already feel a stretch in my hip, the hip of the crossed leg. I'm gonna hold it here.
And I am going to cross my leg up over my other thigh to get a little bit more stretching through the side of the hip here. For those of you who are extra limber, feel free to press down slightly on your knee as well to stretch into that motion even more so.
And these stretches should not be painful, but you should feel a nice strong pull. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. It's also not unusual to have one side that's a bit tighter than the other. So if one side is a bit tighter and you maybe can't tolerate the crossed leg stretch like Lauren, you can try it this way.
Absolutely. I sure feel more tension on this side.
I do too, interesting. I do as well. Good, all right, so let's come back into our seated position. Now for the next stretch, you can feel free to scoot back a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our upper body, and we're going to bring our arm across the chest, hook under that arm with the opposite arm, pull, and look in the opposite direction. Now you should feel a nice stretch through that shoulder and that arm on the left side.
And you'll see that you can hold either at your elbow to stretch over like I'm doing, or at your shoulder like Sasha's doing.
That is true.
Whatever's comfortable.
And again, 30 to 60 seconds. If your muscles are a bit tighter, feel free to hold the stretch a bit longer. Let's do the opposite side. Excellent. And looking away does give that little bit of an added bonus to the stretch. I feel it all the way back through my shoulder blade that we worked with all those rows and flies.
This is a great one to do if you sit at a desk all day.
That's very true. All right, let's go ahead and bring those hands down to the lap. Our last and final stretch is our neck stretch. So we're gonna go ahead and grab a hold of the bottom part of the chair with one hand, and then tilt your head in the opposite direction. Now you should feel a nice strong stretch through the shoulder blade and up through the neck on the opposite side of where you're tilting. Now for those of you who want a deeper stretch, you can put your hand on top of your head and give a little bit added pull.
Make sure if you decide to pull that you aren't bringing your neck forward to round your back at all. Keep it moving towards the side.
Good point. All right, and let's go ahead and switch to the other side.
That one feels good too.
It does feel good. This is another great desk stretch. And I'm gonna put my hand on top because that feels very nice. All right. That wraps up our stretches. That wraps up our exercise program. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that these help you embark on an exercise program at home.